Introduction. My name is Jenna. I am 27 years old. I live in a big city and work in a small cafe. My job is simple. I make coffee for people and serve them cakes and sandwiches. I like my work, but my life is very quiet. Every day is almost the same. I go to work, I come home, and I watch television. I do not have many friends in the city. My life feels a little empty sometimes. One Tuesday night, I was sitting on my sofa. I finished my dinner and had nothing to do. I felt bored and a little lonely. I picked up my phone and decided to try something new. I downloaded a dating app. I was nervous because I never used one before. I created a profile with a nice photo of myself. I wrote a little bit about my job at the cafe and my love for books. I started to look at different profiles. After a few minutes, I saw a man named Nick. His photo was very nice. He had dark hair and very kind eyes. His smile was warm and friendly. I felt something when I saw his picture. I read his profile information. He wrote that he loved cooking and wanted to travel the world. He seemed like a very interesting person. I thought he was very different from other men on the app. I decided to send him a message. I just said, "Hello." He replied very fast. We started to talk, and it was very easy. His words were sweet and polite. He asked me questions about my day and my work. He was funny and made me laugh. We talked for a long time that first night. It felt good to talk to someone new. After that night, we talked every single day. We sent long messages to each other in the morning when we woke up. We sent messages before we went to sleep. We also started to have video calls. It was wonderful to see his face and hear his voice. He always looked happy to see me. He told me about his day, and I told him about mine. I started to feel a special connection to him. A new feeling was growing inside me. My boring life started to feel full of hope. 2. Falling in love. Our connection grew stronger every day. Nick made me laugh all the time. He had a great sense of humor and told the best stories about his travels. Every morning, I woke up to a message from him. It always said something sweet, like "Good morning, beautiful." And every night before I slept, he would call me just to hear my voice. He made me feel very special. He was also very open about his feelings. He told me about his past relationships and how he was hurt before. He said he was careful with his heart now. He wanted a true love that was honest and would last forever. Hearing him share these things made me feel close to him. I felt I could trust him with my own secrets and dreams. One night, we were talking on a video call. I decided to tell him about my biggest dream. I am saving money for something important, I said. I told him all about my plan to open my own cafe. I described everything in detail: the small wooden tables, the comfortable chairs, and the big windows. I wanted a place where people felt happy and relaxed. Nick listened carefully to every word. He did not interrupt. When I finished, he smiled. "That is an amazing dream, Jenna," he said. "You would be great at it." He then said he wanted to help me make my dream come true. His support meant everything to me. It felt like he really understood me. After talking for 1 month, we knew we had to meet in person. I bought a train ticket to his city for the next weekend. I was so nervous on the train. My hands were shaking a little. What if he was different in person? When the train arrived, I walked out onto the platform. I saw him immediately. He was standing near the exit, holding a large group of red flowers. He looked even better than in his photos. When he saw me, a big, warm smile appeared on his face. My heart jumped in my chest. He walked over and wrapped his arms around me in a tight hug. "You're here," he whispered. I felt so safe and happy. Those first 2 weeks together were perfect. We were never apart. We went for long walks, tried new restaurants, and cooked meals together in his small kitchen. It felt so natural, like we had been a couple for years. Then, one evening, he did something I did not expect. We were sitting on a bench in a quiet park. He turned to me, took my hands, and his expression became serious. He asked me to marry him. My friends thought I was crazy when I told them. "It has only been 2 weeks," my best friend said on the phone. "That is too fast. You need more time." But my heart felt sure. I believed in our love. It felt different and strong, so I said yes. I was going to marry Nick. 3, a quick wedding. We decided to have a small, quick wedding. We did not want a big party or many guests. We just wanted to be husband and wife. The wedding was only 2 weeks after he asked me to marry him. My friends said it was very fast, but I was so happy. I bought a simple white dress from a small shop. It was not expensive, but when I put it on, I felt like the most beautiful woman in the world. Nick looked perfect. He wore a dark suit and a white shirt. His kind eyes smiled at me all day. We got married at the city office with a few friends. It was a short and simple ceremony. When we exchanged rings, Nick held my hands tightly. He leaned close and whispered in my ear. "I will protect you forever, Jenna," he said. I believed every word. At that moment, I felt completely safe with him. I was so sure about our future together. I was his wife, and he was my husband. After the wedding, we started our new life. We rented a small apartment near the city center. It had 1 bedroom and a little kitchen. It was our home. The first month was wonderful. Everything felt like a happy dream. Nick was a perfect husband. Every morning, he woke up early to make breakfast for me before I went to work. He always kissed me goodnight. He often told me how lucky he was. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me," he would say. I felt the same way about him. Then, one evening, things started to feel different. We were sitting on the sofa, talking about our dreams. He talked about traveling, and I talked about my cafe. Suddenly, he became serious. He started asking about my savings. "You told me you were saving money for your cafe," he said. "How much do you have?" I trusted him, so I told him the number. It was all the money I had in the world. He listened carefully. Then he said, I have an idea. We can invest it. We can make that money grow for our future. He said he knew a way to double the money in just a few months. It was for us, he said, for our family. He was gone. I trusted Nick completely because he was my husband. When he talked about investing my savings, his voice was full of excitement for our future. He promised he would make our life better. In just 3 months, I will double this money, he said with his warm smile. I believed every word. I went to the bank and took out most of my money. It was the money I saved for many years to open my own cafe. It was my biggest dream, but I gave it all to him. I felt happy because we were building our future together. I imagined our new life with a successful business and a happy home. I thought we were a team. I was wrong. One Tuesday morning, I opened my eyes. The sun was coming through the window. I turned to say good morning to Nick, but his side of the bed was empty. The sheets were cold. I sat up and called his name, Nick. The apartment was silent. There was no answer. This was strange. He always made coffee for me in the morning. I got out of bed and walked into the living room. He was not there. The kitchen was empty and clean. A bad feeling started to grow in my stomach. I walked back to our bedroom and opened the closet door. My heart stopped. His side was completely empty. All of his clothes were gone. His shirts, his pants, and his favorite jacket were not there. His shoes were gone from the floor. It was like he had never lived here at all. I quickly grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped it. I tried to call him, but his phone was off. I tried again and again, but it was the same result. Panic filled my chest. With a shaking finger, I opened my banking app. I was scared to look at the screen. My bank account was empty. All my savings, every single coin I had worked so hard for, had disappeared. The money for my dream cafe was gone. The man I loved, the man I married, had taken everything from me. His promise to protect me was a lie. He did not invest the money for our future. He stole it for himself. My heart broke into a million pieces. I could not breathe. I fell to the floor and started to cry. The tears did not stop for days. I did not eat and I could not sleep. I just sat in our silent apartment, looking at the empty spaces where he used to be. My friends came to see me. They brought food and tried to help. You have to forget him, Jenna, they said softly. He is a bad man, but I could not forget him. The love I felt was so strong. How could it all be a lie? I needed to understand why he did this. I could not just move on. I needed answers. 5, looking for him. After many days of crying in my small apartment, I knew I had to do something. My friends called me every day. They told me to forget Nick. They said, "He is a bad person, Jenna. You should move on with your life." But I could not do that. He took all my savings, but he also took my dreams for our future. I needed answers. The deep sadness in my heart slowly turned into anger. This anger was a new feeling, and it made me feel powerful. I wiped away my final tears and opened my laptop. I started to look for him on the internet. It was very difficult at first. I did not know his friends or his family. I only knew the sweet stories he told me. I searched his full name on every website I could think of. For hours and hours, I found nothing. My eyes were tired from looking at the screen, but I did not give up. I had to find him. Then, late at night, I saw it. It was a new photo of him on a public page. He was not alone. He was standing next to another woman. He had his arm around her, and they were both laughing. It was the same beautiful laugh he shared with me. They looked so happy together. Seeing that picture hurt me more than losing the money. In that moment, all my love for him disappeared. Now, I only felt a hot, burning anger. Who was this woman? I clicked on her name. Her social media page was not private. I could see everything. I looked at all her photos and read her posts. She wrote about her amazing new boyfriend. His name was Nick. She wrote about their new home in another city, a place called Brightville. It was about 5 hours away by bus. She even posted a picture of them at a fancy restaurant. She wrote, "Our favorite place to eat." I had all the information I needed. I closed my computer with a loud snap. I was not going to cry anymore. I was going to Brightville. I stood up and went to my closet. I packed a small bag with a few things. I put in my best dress and my favorite red lipstick. I went online again, but this time I bought a bus ticket. The bus was leaving the next morning. I was not a sad victim. I was a woman with a plan. I was going to find my husband. 6, meeting him again. The bus ride was long, but I did not feel tired. I felt a new energy inside me. I found the restaurant from her social media page. It was a fancy place with white tablecloths and quiet music. I stood outside and took a deep breath. I was not the sad woman who cried for days. I put on my red lipstick and opened the heavy glass door. The restaurant was busy with people eating and talking. I looked around the room and saw them at a small table near a window. Nick was laughing. He looked happy and relaxed in an expensive shirt. The woman with him was beautiful. They were drinking wine and did not see me. My heart was beating fast, but I felt calm. I was wearing my best black dress. I walked slowly between the tables. My eyes were only on Nick. With every step, I felt stronger. I was not afraid anymore. I stopped right next to their table. When Nick looked up, his smile disappeared. He froze completely. He looked like he saw a ghost. His kind eyes were now wide with fear. I gave him a small, cold smile. My voice was calm. "Hello, husband," I said. The other woman looked at me, then at Nick. She was very confused. "Husband?" she asked. "Nick, who is this?" I looked directly at her. "My name is Jenna," I said. My voice was not loud, but people at the next table stopped talking to listen. "Nick and I got married 3 months ago. He said he loved me. Then he took all my savings and disappeared." I saw the woman's eyes get wide. I continued, "He used my money to buy you this dinner." Nick's face was pale. He tried to speak. "Jenna, it's not what you think." But the woman was not listening. She stood up very fast. "You lied to me," she shouted at him. Then she picked up her glass of red wine and threw it in his face. The dark liquid dripped down his shirt. She grabbed her bag and left the restaurant without looking back. The room was silent. Everyone stared at Nick. My job was done. I turned around and walked out with my head held high. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. I was in control of my life again. 7, my justice. After I left the restaurant, I did not feel sad. I felt calm and very strong. I knew exactly what I needed to do next. The next morning, I walked straight to the police station. I was not the crying woman from before. I was a woman with a plan. In my hands, I carried a large folder. Inside the folder was all the proof I needed to show them who Nick really was. I was ready to get justice. I sat across from a police officer. She was a woman with a kind but serious face. I told her my complete story. I started from the very beginning with the dating app and our first messages. I talked about our fast wedding, his promises, and the money he took. Then, I opened my folder on her desk. I showed her the papers from my bank. They clearly showed the large money transfer to Nick's account. I showed her copies of our sweet online messages and our wedding papers. The officer looked at everything very carefully. She listened to every word and nodded slowly. She believed me. The police told me that what Nick did was a serious crime called fraud. With all my proof, it did not take them long. They found Nick in just 2 days and arrested him. When they called to tell me, I did not feel happy or excited. I just felt a quiet sense of relief. It was finally over. The lies were finished. He could not hurt other women now. This was not about getting revenge. It was about doing the right thing. A few days later, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but I answered it. It was Nick calling me from jail. His voice was completely different. It was not strong and confident anymore. It was weak and scared. He started crying and said he was sorry for everything. He begged me to forgive him and give him a second chance. I listened to his words, but I felt nothing. The love I once had was completely gone. "You are nothing to me now," I said calmly. "Do not call me again." I ended the call and blocked his number. I went home and looked at the wedding ring on my finger. It felt heavy. It was a symbol of a lie, not love. The next day, I went to a jewelry shop and sold it. With the money from the ring, I started to make my real dream happen. It was not a lot of money, but it was a start. It was the first step to opening my own cafe. It was the beginning of my new life. 8, my happy future. A full year has passed. My life is very different now. I am not the same sad woman from before. I am a business owner. My cafe is called The New Chapter. Every morning, I open the doors and the wonderful smell of coffee and fresh cakes fills the small street. The cafe is always busy. People come for breakfast, they meet friends for lunch, and they read books in the afternoon. I love the sound of people talking and laughing in my cafe. It is a happy place, and I made it all myself. I have 2 people who work with me. They are good workers and good friends. We are a small team. I am proud of what we do every day. This business is my success. I feel strong now. I feel free. When I wake up in my own apartment, I do not feel afraid or lonely. I feel excited for the day. I choose the music for the cafe. I create new recipes for cakes. I talk to all my customers and learn their names. This cafe was my dream, and now I am living in it. I do not need a man to protect me or save me. I learned how to save myself. I built this life with my own 2 hands. The money from my old wedding ring started this place. It was the end of something bad and the start of something beautiful and new. Sometimes a friendly customer asks me about my life. Last week, an old woman said, "You are always smiling, my dear. You must have a good husband." I smiled back at her. I was not sad or angry at her question. I just felt calm and happy. "I am not married," I told her gently. "I am married to my dreams now." She looked around my busy cafe at all the happy people, and she understood. She patted my hand and said, "That is the best kind of husband to have." I do not think about Nick with hate anymore. The hate is gone, but I have not forgotten the important lesson he taught me. He came into my life and he tried to break me. He thought he could steal my money and my future. He was wrong. He stole my savings, but he gave me something more important. He gave me strength. He showed me that I was stronger than I ever knew. He tried to be the end of my story, but instead, he was just the beginning of my best chapter.